Welcome to Feast on Torah, wherever you are around the world. Let me begin by asking a question. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the Bible? Like you're trying to climb a mountain without a map? Today, we're looking at a verse that changes how we view spiritual growth, but we must read it in context, Isaiah 28:10. The verse reads, "For he says, precept upon precept, rule upon rule, here a little, there a little." At first glance, this is a lesson in patience. Elohim doesn't give us everything at once. He builds our character like a master architect, one brick at a time. Isaiah 28:10 is one of the more fascinating and debated verses in the Torah. Depending on how you interpret the context, the lesson can shift from a profound spiritual principle to a sharp satirical warning. Here is a breakdown of the different layers of meaning in this verse. On the surface, this verse describes the nature of actual growth. It suggests that wisdom and understanding are not gained all at once in a single bolt of lightning moment. Instead, they are built, precept upon precept, establishing fundamental truths before moving to complex ones. Line upon line, building a consistent framework of thought, here a little, there a little. Recognizing that learning is a lifelong, cumulative process. In this sense, the lesson is one of patience and diligence. To master any discipline, especially a spiritual one, you must be willing to master the basics first. Let us look at the contextual lesson, a warning against immaturity. When you look at the surrounding verses, the meaning changes significantly. Isaiah is actually addressing the leaders and priests of Jerusalem who were intoxicated and prideful. Let us read Isaiah 28:1-4. "Woe to the crown of pride, to the drunkards of Ephraim, whose glorious beauty is a fading flower, which is at the head of the verdant valleys, to those who are overcome with wine." 2. "Behold, Yahweh has a mighty and strong one, like a tempest of hail and a destroying storm, like a flood of mighty waters overflowing, who will bring them down to the earth with his hand." 3. "The crown of pride, the drunkards of Ephraim, will be trampled underfoot." 4. "And the glorious beauty is a fading flower, which is at the head of the verdant valley, like the first fruit before the summer, which an observer sees. He eats it up while it is still in his hand." Woe to the majestic crown of Ephraim's drunkards. The term woe is a prophetic declaration of impending judgment or disaster. Ephraim, representing the northern kingdom of Israel, is often used to denote the 10 tribes of Israel. The majestic crown in verse 3 symbolizes the pride and self-glorification of the leaders and people. Drunkenness here is both literal and metaphorical, indicating moral and spiritual decay. The Bible frequently condemns drunkenness. Proverbs 21, Ephesians 5:18. Proverbs 21 "To wine is a mocker, strong drink is a brawler, and whoever is led astray by it is not wise." Ephesians 5:18. "And be not drunk with wine, wherein is excess, but be filled with the Spirit." This is evident in Ephraim's leadership. Whom is he trying to teach? This phrase questions the audience's readiness and capability to understand Yah's teachings. In the context of Isaiah, the prophet addresses the leaders and people of Israel, who are often depicted as stubborn and resistant to divine instruction. Whom is he trying to teach? This rhetorical question highlights their spiritual immaturity and unwillingness to heed Yah's word. The broader biblical narrative frequently emphasizes the importance of being teachable and receptive to Yah's wisdom, as seen in Proverbs 1:7, which underscores the fear of the Most High as the beginning of knowledge. Proverbs 1:7. "The fear of Yahweh is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction." Verses 1-4. "Woe to the proud crown of Ephraim." Isaiah cries out against the northern kingdom, Ephraim, picturing its capital, Samaria, as a fading wreath on a fertile hill. The people's pride and drunkenness are about to be swept away by a mighty, overwhelming flood in verse 2, the Assyrian army. Their beauty will be like a blossom snatched before it ripens in verse 4. To the fading flower of his glorious splendor mentioned in verse 4 of Isaiah 28, the fading flower suggests the transient nature of human glory and achievements. Ephraim's splendor, once vibrant, is now withering due to their unfaithfulness and indulgence. This imagery is reminiscent of other biblical passages that compare human glory to grass or flowers that wither. Isaiah 46:8, also in James 1:10-11. It serves as a reminder of the fleeting nature of earthly pride and the need for reliance on the Most High. The rebuttal. Isaiah responds that since they refuse to listen to Yah's simple instructions, Elohim will soon speak to them in a strange tongue, the invading Assyrians, that they won't understand at all. The lesson for us all is, if you refuse to listen to Yahweh's clear, straightforward guidance, you may eventually find yourself in a situation where you cannot hear him at all. Let me repeat. The lesson we should all learn is, if you refuse to listen to Yahweh's clear, straightforward guidance, you may eventually find yourself in a situation where you cannot hear him at all. Let us continue. Isaiah 28:5-6. In that day, Yahweh of hosts will be for a crown of glory and a diadem of beauty to the remnant of his people. 6. For a spirit of justice to him who sits in judgment, and for strength to those who turn back the battle at the gate. Yahweh's glorious crown. When judgment falls, the Most High himself will be a crown of glory for the remnant who trust him. He will give wisdom for judgment and strength for battle to the remnant. All we have to do is to put our trust in him and not in our own strength, because our strength for battle comes from him. 7. These also stagger from wine and stumble from beer. Priest and prophet stagger from beer. They are confused by wine, they stray on account of beer. They err when receiving visions. They stumble when making judgments. 8. All the tables are covered with vomit. Filth overruns the place. Verse 9. To whom will Elohim teach knowledge? To whom will he explain the message? To those just weaned from milk, to those who have hardly outgrown the breast. Verses 7-8, speaking about drunken leadership in Judah. Even Judah's priests and prophets stagger with wine, mangling their messages. Every table is covered with vomit. Nothing is clean. Their visions could not be trusted because they are confused, so they stumbled when making judgments. Verses 9. Mocking the message. To whom will Elohim teach knowledge? To whom will he explain the message? To those just weaned from milk? To those who have hardly outgrown the breast? Isaiah 28:10. For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little, there a little. With derisive speech and a foreign tongue, he will speak to this people. 12. He has said to them, this is the place of rest, give rest to the weary, this is the place of repose, but they refused to listen. 13. So Yahweh's word will be for them. Tzav letzav, tzav letzav. Kav lekav, kav lekav. A little of this, a little of that. So that they will go and stagger backwards, they will be broken, snared, and captured. Verse 10 introduces the mocking tone of the leaders in Jerusalem, who dismiss Isaiah's message. The context is a rebuke to the leaders who are complacent and arrogant, believing they are secure in their own wisdom and alliances. Historically, this reflects a time when Judah was under threat from Assyria, and the leaders were seeking political solutions rather than relying on Yahweh. Verse 10. The people were mocking these rules, calling them childish. But Isaiah's warning is clear. If we don't respect the minor precepts, the daily commandments and the quiet statutes, we lose the foundation for the big moments in life. Because of the lack of respect for Yah's precepts, His commandments, and His laws, we should take heed and learn this lesson well. For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept. Leaders sneer that Isaiah's words are childish, line upon line, precept upon precept. Yah answers that if they will not listen in plain Hebrew, they will hear foreign tongues, Assyrian. The exact simple words that could have given rest will become a trap, causing them to fall. That has not changed for us today. If we ignore Yah's simple words, those words will eventually become a trap for us, causing us to fall. Now think about that for a moment. This repetition emphasizes the tediousness and simplicity with which the leaders perceive Isaiah's teachings. They mock the prophet's message as if it were mere elementary instruction. The phrase suggests a disdain for the prophetic word, which they see as beneath their sophisticated understanding. This reflects a broader biblical theme where Yah's wisdom is often dismissed by those who consider themselves wise. 1 Corinthians 1:18-25. 18. For the message of the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing, but to us who are being saved, it is the power of Elohim. 19. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, and bring to nothing the understanding of the prudent. 20. Where is the wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the disputer of this age? Has not Elohim made foolish the wisdom of this world? 21. For since, in the wisdom of Elohim, the world through wisdom did not know Elohim, it pleased Elohim through the foolishness of the message preached to save those who believe. 22. For Judeans request a sign, and Greeks seek after wisdom. 23. But we preach Yahawashi, crucified, to the Judeans a stumbling block, and to the Greeks foolishness. 24. But to those who are called, both Judeans and Greeks, Yahawashi, power of Elohim, and the wisdom of Elohim. 25. Because the foolishness of Elohim is wiser than men, and the weakness of Elohim is stronger than men. To the unbelieving world, the concept of salvation through a crucified Messiah seemed absurd and irrational. The Greek word for foolishness is moria, from which the English word moron is derived, indicating something perceived as nonsensical. Those who are perishing refer to individuals who reject the gospel and are on a path to spiritual destruction. This dichotomy between the wisdom of the world and the wisdom of Elohim is a recurring theme in Paul's letters, highlighting the spiritual blindness of those who rely solely on human wisdom. We see the same behavior in Isaiah 28:10, Isaiah 28:13. So Yahweh's word will be for them, tzav letzav, tzav letzav, kav lekav, kav lekav, a little of this, a little of that, so that they will go and stagger backwards, they will be broken, snared, and captured. Verse 13. In Hebrew, the words used here, savlasav, savlasav, kavlakav, kavlakav, are short monosyllabic sounds. Many scholars believe Isaiah was mimicking baby talk. The mockery. The corrupt leaders were mocking Isaiah's teaching style, essentially saying, who does he think he's talking to? Babies. Why is he teaching us such simple, repetitive things? Line on line, line on line. Similar to the previous phrase, this repetition underscores the leaders' scorn. They view the prophetic message as monotonous and overly simplistic. This mirrors the attitude of many throughout biblical history who have rejected Yah's word as foolishness. The phrase can also be seen as a critique of those who fail to grasp the more profound spiritual truths in Yah's instructions, preferring to rely on their own interpretations. The pride of Ephraim is directly linked to their indulgence in wine, symbolizing excess and moral corruption. This pride leads to their downfall, as seen in other biblical narratives, where pride precedes destruction. Proverbs 16:18. The imagery of being overcome by wine suggests a loss of control and discernment, which is spiritually similar to being led astray by sin. This serves as a warning against the dangers of excess and the importance of humility and sobriety in one's walk with Yahweh. Again, let us reiterate verses 9 to 13. Mocking the message. Leaders sneer that Isaiah's words are childish, line upon line, precept upon precept. Yah answers that if they will not listen in plain Hebrew, they will hear foreign tongues, Assyrian. The exact simple words that could have given rest will become a trap, causing them to fall. We see in Hebrews 5:12-14 that believers are called to progress from elementary teachings to maturity in the Word. Hebrews 5:12-14. 12. For though by this time you ought to be teachers, you need someone to teach you again the first principles of the oracles of Elohim, and you have come to need milk and not solid food. 13. For everyone who partakes only of milk is unskilled in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe. 14. But solid food belongs to those who are of full age, that is, those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil. A little here, a little there. This phrase indicates the piecemeal manner in which the leaders believe Isaiah's teachings are delivered. It suggests a lack of coherence or depth, as if the prophet's words are scattered and insignificant. This reflects a common biblical theme where Yah's messages are often given in parts, requiring faith and discernment to understand fully. Isaiah 28:13. It also foreshadows the New Testament principle of spiritual growth, where believers are encouraged to build precept upon precept in their understanding of Yah's word. Hebrews 5:12-14. Teaching points. Understanding Yah's word requires maturity. Just as children learn incrementally, spiritual growth requires consistent study and application of Yah's word. Beware of superficial religion. The repetitive "do this, do that" highlights the danger of following religious rituals without understanding or heart change. Yah's patience and judgment. Yah provides his teachings a little here, a little there. Showing his patience but ignoring his word leads to judgment. Yah's patience and judgment. Yah provides his teachings a little here, a little there. Showing his patience but ignoring his word leads to judgment, the importance of spiritual discernment. Believers must seek a more profound understanding and not be content with surface-level knowledge of Scripture. The role of leaders in spiritual growth. Religious leaders are called to guide others in understanding Yah's word, not just enforce rules. Practical lessons for today. Religious titles cannot replace a clear mind and sober heart. Leadership can fail when clouded by indulgence. Human agreements, even political alliances, cannot shield from the Most High's purposes. Yah's word may sound repetitive, yet it is life-giving. Mocking it leads to bondage. Yah's discipline, like farming methods, is tailored. He knows when to plow, when to thresh, and when to stop. Closing reflection. Isaiah 28 shows Yah who confronts pride, rescues a remnant, exposes false security, and plants an unshakable foundation in Zion. The chapter calls every generation to trade fragile crowns for the lasting crown found in the cornerstone. The message of Isaiah 28 is clear. Refuge found outside of Yahweh is a refuge of lies. We live in a time where we need discernment more than ever. Today, we see people ignoring Torah teachings and doing things in their own way. The warning still stands. Get wisdom in all you're getting. Get understanding. If you believe more people need to hear this warning, share this video with a friend or on social media. To stay connected with this community, make sure to subscribe and tap the notification bell. Your support helps us keep sharing the unfiltered word of Yah. Thanks for watching until the next lesson. Shalom.